Realism and Naturalism in Literature. Part 1. Culture. The themes of realism and naturalism were most prevalent in America from 1870 to 1910. What are realism and naturalism? Realism represented life as it really was through characters and possible events. Naturalism is essentially an even more accurate depiction of realism. I think this YouTube video by English Guy in Texas explains it very well.
In the Romantic period, you'll see that our writers aren't necessarily trying to portray things in an extremely realistic manner. They leave more things to the imagination. There can be supernatural events. In some of the Romantic writers, there can be often happy endings, not with someone like Poe, but the more popular Romantic writers. And you'll find that the realists then, as they studied the Romantic writers, thought that they needed to take off on a different avenue. They thought that life does not always work out with happy endings, and there were not always supernatural events in stories and so on, and they wanted to portray life as it really was. And so when you read someone like a Mark Twain or Henry James or any number of other realistic writers, you'll find this in common, that these are very realistically portrayed stories that try to be true to life, that present life as it actually did happen.
Part 2. The main author. The main author that I chose for this time period was Norman Mailer. About the author. Norman was not only a novelist, but also a journalist, director, and provocateur. While drafted into the army, he wrote his most popular novel, The Naked and the Dead, which is the one that we will be talking about. The novel was divided into 4 parts. In the first part, called Wave, our military characters wait for orders when an attack by sea takes place by the Japanese. One of the crewmates is so frightened that he panics and runs out of his foxhole and is immediately killed by the enemy. This shakes up the rest of the crew, as it is the first death they have seen since they have been at war. The second part is called Agril and Mold. In this part, one of our main characters, General Cummings, bonds with his lieutenant. Meanwhile, the platoon takes a Japanese soldier hostage. Later on, this soldier is killed by a bloodthirsty American soldier who shoots him. The third part is called Plant and Phantom. In this part, Cummings assigns the lieutenant to lead the crew through a jungle and up a mountain in order to reach the far side of the enemy. One of the soldiers gets the lieutenant to walk into an ambush, resulting in the death of the lieutenant and the soldier taking charge of the platoon, which saddens Cummings. The battle ends and the crew returns home. The fourth and final part is called Wake. In this short part, General Cummings thinks back upon his experiences in the war. He feels disappointed that victory came too easily for him, and he takes no credit in it at all. Norman Mailer's book expresses the main ideal of realism, as it is a situation that could have happened with characters with realistic ambitions and emotions. Part 3. Poets and Modern Writers. Our second author and poet is Mark Twain. He was a writer, humorist, entrepreneur, publisher, and lecturer. 2 of his famous poems are To Jenny and These I Can Promise. His poem, To Jenny, reads, Goodbye, a kind goodbye, I bid you know, my friend, and though 'tis sad to speak the word, to destiny I bend. And though it be decreed by fate that we never meet again, your image graven on my heart forever shall remain. I, in my heart, that ever have a place among the friends held dear, nor shall the hand of time efface the memories written there. Goodbye, SLC. In his poem, These I Can Promise, he writes, I cannot promise you a life of sunshine. I cannot promise riches, wealth, or gold. I cannot promise you an easy pathway that leads away from change or growing old. But I can promise all my heart's devotion, a smile to chase away your tears of sorrow, a love that's ever true and ever growing, a hand to hold in yours through each tomorrow. Our third and modern author is R.J. Palacio. Her debut novel has been a New York Times bestseller since 2012. Her book, Wonder, is about a boy with a facial difference and his struggles of going to school. Although it has a more lighthearted ending than traditional realism, it is a very probable situation with real emotions that people have. In conclusion, all these authors express realism throughout their works, whether it's through possible situations or relatable thoughts and feelings.